Good day everyone, this video is for the laboratory exercise of Chapter 5, which is Inter-VLAN Routing for the course of Data Communications and Networking 2 or Cisco 2. So on this laboratory exercise, we would like to have this topology. We have a router, 2 switches, and 2 PC hosts. Each PC host is directly connected to a switch. Both switches are interconnected, and one of the switches is connected to a router. So PCA is connected on switch 1 via the port FA06. PCB is connected via port FA018. Each switches is both connected via ports FA1 on both ends, and the switch 1 is connected to the router through port 5, and the other end is Gigabit Ethernet 01 on the router. Now that we have created the topology like so and have cabled the network, the next thing that we would like to do is to configure the PC host. And PCA should have this address 192.168.100.3 with a subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and the default gateway should be 192.168.100.1, and the PCB should have an IP address of 192.168.200.3, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and the default gateway is 192.168.200.1. Now that we are finished in configuring the PC host, the next thing that we would like to do is to configure the basic settings on both of the switches and the router. So let's start with the switch 1. Enter the global configuration mode using the command enable, followed by the command configure terminal or config-t for short, and change the host name to S1 since this is our switch number 1. Let's disable the DNS lookup using the command no IP domain -lookup. Okay, and next thing is to enable the password for the exit mode of the switch using the command enable secret class. And then let's create a banner for the switch using the command banner motd, followed by the message that we would like to be prompted out once someone is trying to access the said switch. And for this case, it's authorized access only. Enter. Now, what we would like to do is to create a password for the console and for the virtual terminal lines, and to do that we would use the command line console 0 to access the console, followed by the command password and the word Cisco as our password, log in and exit. Now to access the virtual terminal lines, use the command line vty04. Set the password to Cisco. Use the command login synchronous here. Log in and exit. And encrypt the passwords using the command service password encryption, so that the passwords that we have configured for the virtual terminal line, console, and the exit mode would be encrypted. Okay. Now the next thing that we would like to do is to copy run start to save the configuration that we had made on the S1. The next thing is configure S2 or the switch 2. Enter the global configuration mode and just do the same thing that we did on S1, which is configure the host name, disable the DNS lookup, no IP domain -lookup, enable the password to the exit part, and create a banner then create a password for the console and for the virtual terminal line. Okay, now that we have configured and saved the configuration that we made on the S2, let's move on the router 1. So on the router, we just like to configure the same things, the basic settings, like we did on the switches 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Configure the host name to R1 since there's only one router and this is our R1. And new IP domain lookup to disable DNS lookup. And enable the password for the exit mode. Create a banner. And create a password for the console and for the virtual terminal lines. Okay, let's encrypt the passwords. Okay, and now save the configuration using the command copy run start. Okay, and since we are using the port gigabit 01 here, let's enter the global configuration mode, access the G01 port, and use the command no shut to change the state to up. So you can see here, change state to up, and you can see here that the port now has green triangle, which means that the port is up and running. Now the next thing that we would like to do after configuring the switches and the router is to configure the switches with the VLANs and the trunking that is needed on this network. So let's access the S1 and enter the global configuration mode. And let's declare the VLANs and the trunking that should be present on the switch number 1, which is VLAN 10. Sorry about that. Okay, and let's change the name of this VLAN to students. And we have another VLAN 20. And let's name this VLAN faculty. Okay, now that we have two VLANs on the switch, which is VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, the next thing that we would like to do is to configure the trunking on this switch. So on switch 1, we are using the ports FA1 here. This is port 6 and this is connected to port 5. So to access the ports you could use the command int fa0/1 to access the port 1 of the switch, and use the command switch port mode trunk, and no shutdown, and exit. Now int fa05, same command, switch port mode trunk, no shutdown, and exit. And for the port that is connected to the end user, the command that we would use is int fa06, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10, because we would like this PC to be under the VLAN 10, which is the student, and exit. The next thing that we would like to do after that is to configure an address for the VLAN 1 of the switch using the command int VLAN1, and enter the IP address 192.168.1.11. 255.255.255.0 is the subnet mask, and this is no shutdown, so that the IP address will be active, and use the command IP default gateway -gateway to configure a gateway for this, which is 192.168.1.1. Enter. Now exit and copy run start command is to be used so that the configuration that we did is to be saved on the switch 1. Now let's move on in configuring the switch 2's VLANs and trunking. Enter the global configuration mode and declare the two VLANs that we have, which is VLAN 10, name is student, and VLAN 20, name faculty. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing, which is configure the ports on trunk and access mode. Since on switch 2 we have 01, switch port mode trunk, switch port mode trunk, and no shutdown. Exit. Int fa018 is connected to our PC host, therefore switch port mode access command should be used, and switch port access VLAN 20. Okay. Exit. And in VLAN 1 to access the VLAN 1 of the switch, and set the IP address to 192.168.1.12, subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Use the command no shutdown, and set the default gateway using the command IP default -gateway to 192.168.1.1, and exit. Okay, use the command copy run start to save the configuration. And let's move on to configuring the VLAN trunking of the router. Okay, exit. We are on the global configuration mode, and what we would like to do is to use the command int g01.1. This is for the VLAN 1, and use the command encapsulation dot 1q space 1. Use the command IP address 192.168.1.1. .255.255.255.0. As you could see, this IP address is the default gateway of the VLAN 1. Yeah, we're accessing the VLAN 1. And the next thing that we'd like to do is to use command int0/1.10 because this is for the VLAN 10. Use the command encapsulation .1q space 10 because this is for the VLAN 10, and enter the IP address of default gateway of VLAN 10, which should be 192.168.100.1, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. And then for the last VLAN on the switches, which is the VLAN 20, int G01.20. Okay. Use the same command encapsulation .1q space 20 since this is for the VLAN 20, and set the IP address of the gateway of this VLAN, which is 192.168.200.1, 255.255.255.0 as its default, as its subnet mask. Exit this one and access the int G01 since we are using the port, and use the command no shutdown. Exit and use the command copy run start to save the configuration. Okay, now we should be able to ping each devices even if it's on different VLANs since we have made a trunking using the router here. So to verify the connectivity, let's try to send ping from PCA to the default gateway of VLAN 10. Let's use the command ping 192.168.100.1 because this is the default gateway of the VLAN 10 or the VLAN student. Okay, as we can see here, the ping is 100% successful. And next thing that we would like to do is to check if we could send a ping to the PCB connected to the switch 2 under the VLAN 20 or the VLAN faculty. It have the IP address 192.168.200.3. Okay, our ping is successful, and the next thing that we would like to do is to check if we could send a ping on switch 2, and switch 2 has the IP address of 192.168.1.12. Is it correct? Hold on for a while. Okay, so let's just retry to send ping. Okay, so now we have successfully sent ping to the default gateway of VLAN 10, and we have also successfully sent ping to the PCB, and we have also sent ping to the switch 2. And that covers up the laboratory exercise for the chapter 5. Thank you and have a nice day.